Yes, Mom, I'm eating enough protein. No, Mom, I haven't filed my taxes yet. All right, Mom, I gotta go. I gotta film this Patreon vid. Love you. Bye-bye. 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 What's up, y'all? How we living? I'm Jonathan Stein. Welcome to another push tutorial. Today, we're gonna get into some good vibes with intervals. Let's get to it, shall we? Let me just actually set up my other camera. Ha-ha. Just gotta make sure to edit this out afterwards so that I seem really professional. And all right, here we are. All right, so far we talked about quite a few push topics. We've done some chords, some sevens, some triads, some juicy stuff, scales, all that. But we haven't spent much love and time on just straight up intervals. So I wanted to take this vid to break down all of the chromatic intervals in one octave and all the diatonic intervals, so we have an understanding of what those feel like and look like on the grid, and also what they sound like. Yeah, that's major. So let's just jump right in. We're gonna start with our left hand, and we're gonna put our thumb on this C right here. Yeah, this is a new starting point for us, but things get a little different up here. We had a little more wiggle room to play alternate fingerings. You'll see what I mean. Let me show you. Put your thumb here. First interval, the half step. So there's two ways you could do it. You could go to the right one square, and the obvious fingerings would be any consecutive fingers like this. Or if you want to do the super extra fingering, then you could go up one row and 5 columns to the left like this. Now it really just depends on where you're at. Sometimes you got to do this super weird one, and other times you just get to do this super normal one. So be ready for both, honestly. Gotta be prepared, fams. So review that. Half steps. And boom. Alright, so what does this interval sound like? It's a half step. It's very tense. It's two notes that are essentially too close together. The most obvious thing that comes to mind is the Mother Effin' Jaws soundtrack. Ah! Impending peril! Ah! Yeah, okay, so maybe that's a good summary of what that interval feels like. But in general, it's exotic, it's weird, it's mysterious. It doesn't necessarily have to be dark or cynical or morbid. It could just be intriguing or bizarre. Or it's really all about context. But that's the half step. Moving on to the whole step. Here we go. Put your thumb down. You can either go 2 to the right, or you could go up and 4 to the left. Like that. So there's this fingering and this fingering. Both hit the spot. Really depends on where you're at. The whole step is more open, more relaxed than the half step. You can feel it's got less tension. It's a little more, it's just more relaxed. And I don't really know if there's any iconic uses of just a whole step. If you think of any, hook your boy up, put them below in the comments. I'm all about that. I'm just curious. Let's go ahead and take a look at the minor third. You could either go 4 to the right, just in a straight line like this, or you go up 1 and to the left 2, and create this little diagonal line. Both of these are minor thirds. And by the way, here's a little hint for any of this interval talk. You always see both options presented to you. You see how these two notes are actually the exact same? So if you're ever wondering, what's the alternate fingering for this interval or chord or melody that I'm playing, the push is going to show it to you right there. So as you can see, there's that option and that option. And let's just quickly try that out with the right hand too. All these intervals are going to be the similar fingerings for both hands, just with the fingers inverted. It's not going to affect too much the hand shape, but let's just try it out anyway. That's your third straight line style. And that's your third using 2 rows. This one's a little tidier. Anytime you could fit your interval into a smaller little sphere or cube of sorts, it's gonna be easier on the hand. So always look for those. But it's also important to know all the fingerings. Now, what do we think of when we think minor thirds? Minor thirds are a little depressed. They're a little somber. They're dark. They are melancholy. You know, they're associated with sad and moodiness. But you can play off of those expectations and use them into your advantage to create other emotional textures. For example, the Dorian mode, and by the way, I should probably do a video soon on modes because those are dope. But the Dorian mode is this very interesting mix of minor intervals and major intervals that creates for this very stable, earthy, balanced funkiness. So, minor thirds don't have to be sad. They could just be cool. So for this major third, let's move down to this C right here, so we have a little more room to go left to right. You need to set up all 5 fingers on this straight line so that you can hit this full major third. And as you can see, the push is illuminating to you the alternate fingering. Let's check that one out now. And maybe we'll just do that with ring and pinky. Yeah. Or with middle and ring. Or with pointer and middle. All these are good. Thumb, pointer, all these are stick fingerings. I'm down with all of these. Right hand, let's take a quick look. Same thing, we're gonna start with thumb though. Fingers are inverted. Thumb, pinky. This one's good for crossover, I would say. These other adjacent fingers feel nice as well. I think you're probably gonna get a chance to use all of these in your push playing. So the major third is bright, it's open, it's natural, it's lively, it's positive, it's lighter. It's just gonna be that happy version of the minor third. You're probably gonna turn to these thirds in general a lot in chords and melodies because they're really the most colorful interval that we use. The third is what makes the difference between a chord being major and minor. It's most important quality. Moving on. So now we've got a perfect fourth. And this interval, I would really recommend only doing one way, and that would just be the vertical shape. This nice, easy little straight line, like a little block, Lego block or something. And obviously, tucked thumb is gonna be a good way to go, and you can pair it with any finger. Right hand is gonna be very similar. And if you want, every once in a while, you get an opportunity to do this super slick fingering. Check this out. What? Did I just play 2 push keys with 1 finger? That is some next level. So yeah, every once in a while I do actually do this. There are times where it's practical and not just for the sake of looking cool, although it's nice when both of those collide and coincide. So look for those moments, but you can do it that way. And right hand's gonna be similar. The tritone, most obvious fingering is just gonna be this little diagonal right here. And you can pair it with different fingers, it won't make too much difference, all should be pretty comfortable. Left hand, it's probably gonna be a lot of these scenarios. It also works well if you do a tucked thumb. There's a good time to point out something about what happens with the hands when you play push. You're either doing this kind of fingers just laid out flat like this, like you're going, hey, or you're doing jazz hands. And maybe the fingers curl over like this, like you're doing little cat paws around. Then the other times you're playing push, you're doing a lot of this tucked thumb stuff, where it's more like, I don't know, what are some reasons for us to do this? If you're like trying to do the Spock thing, or if you're like counting to 4, or you're trying to say, like, you're at a ball game and you're like, hey, 4 hot dogs, bring over here. You know, everyday scenarios like that. So keep that in mind. It's really gonna be one of those 2 positions for either hand. And I'm gonna show you one other crazy fingering for a tritone that you'll probably never use, but might as well know about it. And that would be with thumb here on C, and then your pinky 2 rows up and 5 to the left. Preposterous shape, but you never know when it might fit. So it's just good to know about it. And the right hand version of that would probably, oof, that does not feel good. Something like that. Yikes. Moving on. Fifths. Now the tritone is a very weird, unstable, kind of maniacal, demonic interval. It has a lot of very, very interesting history behind it, and religion, Christianity, and Catholicism in particular, they hated this interval. Actually, the whole reason that tonality as we know it developed, what with keys and diatonic scales and the shift of tonality using dominant chords, all comes from these early dudes in like the 13th, 14th century trying to get rid of tritones. So they introduced flats and sharps purely for the reason to eliminate tritones. The joke there is every time you eliminate one tritone in a scale, a new one appears. And then you eliminate that one and a new one appears again. So it's like a weed, you know, you just pull out a weed and then a new one pops up and then you have to like garden for the rest of your life. You could research that on your own if you're curious, But the tritone's a cool interval, and very interestingly, a huge part of what makes blues and jazz music sound the way it does. Dirty, thick, rich, earthy, sexy, growly, primal, all of that stuff. It comes from the tritone, this special interval that perfectly bisects the octave in half. Remember, there's 12 half steps to an octave. The tritone is 6 half steps, right in the middle. Very interesting. Moving on. Now we've got the perfect fifth, the complete opposite of the tritone. This interval is ultra stable, ultra secure, ultra strong. Boom. So this is a fingering, that's a fingering. Maybe you want to get your tucked thumb on. That actually feels good. Right hand, very comfortable. And another fingering for the fifth, I'm going to go up to this C now so I have some room to the left, would be 2 rows up, 3 squares to the left. Here's 2 possibilities right there that both feel nice. All right, moving on. Now we get to the sixth, and we've got 2 options for these. Let's try the first with our left hand. This little L shape here. So I guess that would be 3 to the right and 1 up. And maybe you want to try like this. I'm not quite positioned properly to make this comfortable, but it should work. And the other option, which maybe is easier depending on the situation, is 2 up and 2 to the left from your start, like this. So a diagonal line in this direction all of a sudden. Huh, interesting. Let's try with right hand. Right hand, I would recommend doing tucked thumb if you're doing the one I just showed you. As opposed to like kind of trying to get your thumb above. That ain't gonna happen, bruh. And then if you do this fingering, quite comfortable actually. So, what can we say about 6? Interesting thing about 6, both of them, and I'm gonna get to the major 6 in a second, is they're very closely related to third. They're basically just an upside down third. If you take a third and put the root above it, suddenly it becomes a 6th. So the minor 6 by itself sounds also kind of somber, depressed. I mean, it really depends on context once again. It's a very mysterious interval, but it is beautiful, extra consonant. It is technically consonant, by the way. It is very pure and ringy and nice and beautiful. Moving on to the major 6th. Here we go. I'm gonna go down to this C so I have room left to right. Don't mind my wrist pivoting all bizarrely. There's this fingering here. That would be up 1 row and to the right 4. And then you could also do this much easier one, honestly, where you go up 2 to the left 1, like such. And for the top note, I'd say any finger will feel just fine, but I would say thumb on the bottom. Let's take a look at right hand. That's actually quite comfortable. I like that. And that feels great too. So here we're doing some tucked thumb work. That's gonna hit the spot for this one. And this one is the major 6, so it does feel more open, more positive. And once again, if you explore these on your own, you're gonna realize what I mean by thirds and 6ths being the same, just upside downs of each other. So a major third inverted becomes a minor 6th, and a minor third inverted becomes a major 6th. Interesting little crisscross there. Explore that, if you will. All right, moving on. Minor 7ths. Now the only, and really the best fingering for this that I would recommend is just this nice vertical straight line up 2 squares from where you start. Boom, easy. This is another one where you're gonna do tucked thumb, and any of these fingers will feel fine. Right hand. Same thing, I would just tuck the thumb and go down. Boom. The minor 7th always evokes this kind of bluesy thing. It's, you know, it's kind of sassy, jazzy, funky. It's almost an octave. It's just 1 step away. It's very vocal for some reason. It's a cool interval, stylish. And obviously, the major component of what we love about 7th chords. In this case, the minor 7th for the dominant 7th chord. Minor 7ths, you're gonna use them a lot. Major 7ths, another all-star champion interval. Let's check this bad boy out. Left hand, I would do tucked thumb. This fingering is just fine. That's fine. A little less comfortable than this, but they all work. You could all do them. And right hand It's kind of sort of going to be a tuck thumb thing, although there's not too much tuckage involved. It's pretty comfortable. Now the major seventh is also a champion because it's what we love about major 7 chords so much. It's this almost perfect and resolved triad thing, but it's got a little bit of extra color and maybe even friction and rub and saturation and thickness to that chord that really makes a major 7 ultra special. And let's go up one more to the octave. And that's just going to be going from one C to another like this. Left hand, these work. Now for this next one, I would definitely recommend tucked thumb. This is fine. All these are pretty good. This and this are my favorite because they really work with the shape of the hand the best. And for the right hand, easy. That's fine too. That's fine too. Yeah, all those are good. Octaves. Octaves aren't very interesting. It's really just the same note twice and there's not really much color to it, but it's strong, it's fundamental, it's human. So what happens when you go above an octave? Well, when you go above an octave, you're really just repeating the same 12 intervals that we just took a look at, but you're adding 8 half steps to it. So if I were to do a half step plus an octave, then all of a sudden it would be a ninth. And in this case, it would be a minor ninth. A major ninth would be the whole step up the octave. And if you're ever wondering how to find these intervals, you could take that interval that I just showed you, the octave, and just add it to the smaller interval that you're trying to do above the octave. So say you want to do a tenth, a major tenth, which is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful interval. Then you say, how could I find this tenth? Well, first, I'm gonna find my third, my major third, and you're gonna go, all right, up one to the left one. There's my major third. And now I just need to take this major third up the octave. And we know what up the octave is. It's up 2 squares to the right 2 squares to make this little across diagonal line here. So all we gotta do is move the third from here to here. And now instead of this third, we get a tenth. Ooh, and listen to how big and strong and resonant that tenth is. This is just pop song Central City over here. Yeah, I can do that stuff all day. I got a soft spot for that 10 stuff. I know it's cheesy and sounds like a Zed song, but oh, it's so good. So that's all the intervals. And all of those respectfully fit into the major scale and the minor scale. So along with just going through all 12 of those intervals right there, you could do exercises that just focus on both. Why not? The major scale and the minor scale. You could do them with each hand. And you could just do kind of this staircasey thing where you go 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 8. And if you want, for the overachiever extra credit smartasses out there, you could go above as big as your hand will reach to the bigger intervals. Like such. And it's pretty doable. You could really cover 2 octaves of range of one hand pretty easily. And more. Oh, look at the reach. Yeah, just play with that. Let's do a right hand real quick. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7, 8, 9. Extra credit, all the way up. Let's see how big I could reach, actually. Ooh, I could just barely reach across the whole push with just my right hand. I'm proud of myself. I'm gonna say it. So what I just did, I just stumbled on it. It's a pretty good exercise and actually very musical. It kind of sounds like some I don't know, some Mozart concerti, opus magnum, BMV K423 that he wrote when he was like 7 years old or something. So what we're gonna do, and you can do this with the metronome or with a pulse or just, try and hold it down in here. By the way, practice with metronomes as much as possible. I know I told you that, but come on, bruh, don't make me remind you. And just see if you could have play with intervals. I'm gonna do this with my right hand. For some reason, this works good with that. where the thumb is always holding down the tonic. Let's have that be C to keep things simple. You can just follow the white keys. And we're just gonna play with intervals. One style where I was kind of doing this teeter-tottery, like rocking chair motion with the hand where the C kept bouncing back. Let's try another version where it's kind of more where the low thumb is just sustaining and you replay it every once in a while. It'll be prettier that way. And you can get the sustain pedal involved too. I'm gonna do a little bit of messing around with the sustain pedal as well. But these exercises are coming out just really cute and adorable today. Aww. Let's try the same exercise in minor. I think that's gonna fix our cute and adorable problem, honestly. But knowing me, we'll see. So this time, just for fun, I'm gonna do it with left hand. Here we go. Alright, so we could agree it was less cute. That was me passing through two different ways to just do intervals with one hand and actually create some really full sounding nice music with just one effing hand, which leaves a lot of wiggle room for what the other hand could do, whether it's playing another melody on the right side of the push or drinking coffee, eating a banana, any of that stuff. I'll leave that up to you. And if you want to explore the chromatic scale and try and find musicality in that, you can do the same thing, but now you've got the palette of all 12 notes. So ground of your thumb, let's take left hand, and just see what happens. And suddenly you'll be getting into more colorful, exotic, chromatic, expressive, bluesy, jazzy territories. There's a lot to be done with 12 notes. That's just not a bunch of chaotic noise. You can do beautiful, marvelous things with 12 notes, which is why I wanted to show you all 12 of these intervals so that you could really get an understanding of what they all sound like, and also understand how intervals are not just at play when you play two notes at once, but in any chord or melody. Take something as beautiful as a major 7th chord. I've shown you guys this voicing here. This chord is made up of a major 3rd, a major 7th, but also a 5th between the major 3rd and the major 7th. So what you're hearing and what sounds so beautiful and blends so well is a major 3rd plus a major 7th plus a perfect 5th, all working together to create this marvelous thing. A minor 7th is a minor 3rd, a minor 7th, and another perfect 5th. So you have to consider the relationship of all of these notes in every chord, all working together to create this tapestry of colors and palettes that make the end result that we hear. Behind every great chord is a great set of intervals. All right, I'm gonna send you all off with that. Have fun exploring those intervals, not only with your hand, but with your ear and mind and heart. Aww. Thank you so much for watching. So much love to y'all as always. Stay Swiss.